Imagine that you're a detective and you have a case to solve. You need to find out what's going on with your data, how it's being used, and who's behind it. You also need to administrate your skilled team of fellow analytics investigators. Welcome, detectives. My name is Jason Richards, Microsoft Technical Trainer and Data Detective. Let's discover the suite of features and high-level architectural concepts of Fabric, as well as how to manage and secure your Fabric environment as an admin. You ready to solve some mysteries? Let's get started. Before we dive into how to administer Fabric, let's take a step back and understand what Fabric is and how it works. In our first case, we'll introduce you to the missing architecture, where we'll learn about key concepts and terms that you need to know to work with Fabric. Let's get started. Microsoft Fabric is an all-in-one analytics solution for enterprises that covers everything from data movement to data science, real-time analytics, and business intelligence. It offers a comprehensive suite of services, including data warehousing, data engineering, data integration, data science, real-time analytics, and business intelligence. The foundation of the platform is based on software as a service, SaaS, which provides a simple and integrated approach. All of the Fabric experiences use OneLake as their native store without needing any additional configuration. OneLake is hierarchical in nature to simplify management across your organization. There's only one OneLake per tenant, and it provides a single pane of glass file system namespace that spans across users, regions, and even clouds. The data in OneLake is divided into manageable containers, easy for handling. The OneLake that rules them all. Okay, jokes aside, that closes that case. But on to our next mystery. How does Fabric conceptualize this architecture? Let's look at the clues. A Fabric tenant is a dedicated space for organizations to create, store, and manage Fabric items. There's often a single instance of Fabric for an organization, and it's aligned with Microsoft Entra ID. The Fabric tenant maps to the root of OneLake and is at the top level of the hierarchy. Capacity is a dedicated set of resources that's available at a given time to be used. A tenant can have one or more capacities associated with it. Capacity defines the ability of a resource to perform an activity or to produce output. Different items consume different capacity at a certain time. Fabric offers capacity through the Fabric SKUs and trial offerings. A domain is a logical grouping of workspaces. Domains are used to organize items in a way that makes sense for your organization. You can group things together in a way that makes it easier for the right people to have access to the right workspaces. For example, you might have a domain for sales, another for marketing, and another for finance. A workspace is a collection of items that brings together different functionality in a single tenant. It acts as a container that leverages capacity for the work that's executed and provides controls for those who can access the items in it. For example, in a sales workspace, users associated with the sales organization can create a data warehouse, run notebooks, create semantic models, create reports, etc., etc. Fabric items are the building blocks of the Fabric platform. They're the objects that you create and manage in Fabric. There are different types of items, such as data warehouses, data pipelines, semantic models, reports, and dashboards. Understanding Fabric concepts is important for you as an admin because it helps you understand how to manage the Fabric environment. Let's explore the case of the Fabric admin, the unsung hero who keeps the Fabric platform running smoothly and securely for your organization. Whether you need to manage security and access control, data governance, customization and configuration, or monitoring and optimization, Fabric has a tool for you. Let's get ready to crack the case of the Fabric admin. There are several roles that work together to administer Microsoft Fabric for your organization. If you're a Microsoft 365 admin, a Power Platform admin, or a Fabric Capacity admin, you're involved in administering Fabric. The Power BI admin role will transition to become the Fabric admin at some point, so be aware of that. As a Fabric admin, you work primarily in the Fabric admin portal. You may also need to familiarize yourself with the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, the Microsoft 365 Security, and Microsoft Purview compliance portals, Microsoft Entra ID and the Azure portal, PowerShell commandlets, and administrative APIs and SDKs, or software development kits. As an admin, you may be responsible for a wide range of tasks to keep the Fabric platform running smoothly. One of the most important aspects of Fabric administration is managing security and access control to ensure that only authorized users can access sensitive data. You can use role-based access controls, or RBACs, to define who can view and edit content, set up data gateways to securely connect to on-premises data sources, and use Microsoft Entra ID to manage user access. Effective Fabric administration requires a solid understanding of data governance principles. You should know how to secure inbound and outbound connectivity into your tenant, and how to monitor usage and performance metrics. You should also know how to apply data governance policies to ensure data within your tenant is only accessible to authorized users. Fabric administration also involves customizing and configuring the platform to meet the needs of your organization. This could include configuring private links to secure your tenant, defining data classification policies, and adjusting the look and feel of reports and dashboards. As a Fabric admin, you need to know how to monitor the performance and usage of the platform, optimize resources, and troubleshoot issues. This includes configuring monitoring and alerting settings, optimizing query performance, managing capacity and scaling, as well as troubleshooting data refreshes and connectivity issues. Specific tasks may vary depending on the needs of your organization and the complexity of your Fabric implementation. You need to familiarize yourself with a few tools to effectively implement the tasks outlined above. Fabric admins can perform most admin tasks using one or more of the following tools: the Fabric admin portal, PowerShell commandlets, admin APIs and SDKs, and the admin monitoring workspace. Fabric's admin portal is a web-based portal where you can manage all aspects of the platform. In the admin portal, you can centrally manage, review, and apply settings for the entire tenant, or by capacity. You can also manage users, admins, groups, access audit logs, and monitor usage and performance. The admin portal enables you to turn settings on and off. There are many settings located in the admin portal, but there's one setting that we'd like to call out, which may change how you and your users experience Fabric. The Fabric on-off switch, located in tenant settings, lets organizations that use Power BI opt into Fabric. Here you can enable Fabric for your tenant or allow capacity admins to enable Fabric. Fabric provides a set of PowerShell commandlets that you can use to automate common administrative tasks. A PowerShell commandlet is a simple command that can be executed in PowerShell. For example, you can use commandlets in Fabric to systematically create and manage groups, configure data sources and gateways, and monitor usage and performance. You can also use the commandlets to manage the Fabric admin APIs and SDKs. What are those things? Well, an admin API and SDK are tools that allow developers to interact with the software system programmatically. An API, or Application Programming Interface, is a set of protocols and tools that enable communication between different software applications. An SDK, or Software Development Kit, is a set of tools and libraries that helps developers create software applications that can interact with a specific system or platform. You can use APIs and SDKs to automate common administrative tasks and integrate Fabric with other systems. For example, you can use the APIs and SDKs to create and manage groups, configure data sources and gateways, and monitor usage and performance. You can also use the APIs and SDKs to manage the Fabric admin APIs and SDKs themselves. Fabric tenant admins will have access to the admin monitoring workspace. You can choose to share access to the workspace or specific items within it with other users in your organization. The admin monitoring workspace includes the feature usage and adoption semantic model and report, which together provides insights on the usage and performance of your Fabric environment. You can use that information to identify trends and patterns and troubleshoot issues. The Microsoft Fabric Capacity Metrics app is designed to provide monitoring capabilities for Microsoft Fabric capacities. You use the app to monitor your capacity consumption and make informed decisions on how to use your capacity resources. For example, the app can help identify when to scale up your capacity or when to turn to auto scale. And this app is obtained through AppSource. Now, let's investigate how to secure our data and analytics environment with Fabric. If you want to protect your data from bad actors and ensure compliance with regulations, this is the case for you. Let's get started by looking at the first layer of security, licenses. Microsoft Fabric security is based on Power BI security. Your role as an admin is to manage security for the Fabric environment, including managing users and groups and managing how users interact with Fabric items in terms of sharing and distribution of content. When considering security, you can look at it at several layers of protection that a bad actor will need to penetrate before getting to your precious data. Some of these layers are your responsibility to implement, like at the network, workspace, item, and within each item. Fabric, as a software as a service, does provide some built-in security sleuthing, such as encryption for data in transit and at rest, and using Microsoft Information Protection to apply sensitivity labels to your data. You can also enhance your data governance with an epic team-up with Fabric and Microsoft Purview. Licenses control the level of access and functionality that users have within the Fabric environment. Administrators can ensure that licensed users have the necessary access to data and analytics to perform their roles effectively, while also limiting access to sensitive data and ensuring compliance with data protection laws and regulations. Managing licenses allows administrators to monitor and control costs by ensuring that licenses are allocated efficiently and only to users who need them. This can help to prevent unnecessary expenses and ensure that the organization is utilizing its resources effectively. Having the appropriate procedures in place to assign and manage licenses helps to control access to data and analytics, ensuring compliance with regulations and optimize costs. License management for Fabric is handled in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. As an admin, you can manage how users interact with Fabric in terms of sharing and distribution of content. This includes managing how users share content with others and how they distribute content to others. You can also manage how users interact with items like data warehouses, data pipelines, semantic models, reports, and dashboards. Items in workspaces are best distributed through a workspace app or the workspace directly. Granting the least permissive rights is the first step in securing the data. Share the read-only app for access to the reports, or grant access to the workspaces for collaboration and development. Another aspect of managing and distributing items is enforcing such best practices. You can manage sharing and distribution both internally and outside of your organization in compliance with your organization's policies and procedures. Okay, so we have a license and shared access. How do we know what data is approved for use? It's time to unlock the clues in the case of the endorsed assets. Content endorsement is an essential governance feature that helps you establish trust in your data assets by promoting and certifying specific Fabric items as trusted and approved for use across the organization. All Fabric items can be endorsed except for dashboards. Endorsed assets are identified with a badge that indicates they've been reviewed and approved. Endorsements help your users know which assets they can trust and rely on for accurate information. And it also helps you, as an admin, manage the overall growth of your items across your environment. There are two types of endorsements. Promoted Fabric content appears with a promoted badge in the Fabric portal. Workspace members with the contributor or admin role in the workspace can promote content within it. The Fabric admin can promote content across the organization. Consider this like a thumbs up for your fellow detectives. Content certification is a more formal process that involves a review of the content by a designated reviewer. Certified Fabric content appears with a certified badge in the Fabric portal. The certification process is managed by an admin and can be customized to meet the needs of your organization. If you aren't an admin, you need to request item certification from an admin. Data lineage is the ability to track the flow of data through Fabric. Like a series of clues, data lineage allows you to see where data comes from, how it's transformed, and where it goes. This helps you understand the data that's available in Fabric and how it's being used. Metadata is the data that describes other assets, including data, kind of like the key to a codex. Metadata scanning facilitates governance of data by enabling cataloging and reporting on all the metadata of your organization's Fabric items. The Scanner API is a set of admin REST APIs that allow you to scan Fabric items for sensitive data. You can use the Scanner API to scan data warehouses, data pipelines, semantic models, reports, and dashboards for sensitive data. And the Scanner API can be used to scan both structured and unstructured data. Great work, detectives. We've unlocked the mysteries of Fabric architecture, concepts, and administration. Now it's time to roll up our sleeves. Well, I don't have sleeves, but that's all right. Open up the Detectolab 5000 and weave, get the Fabric reference there, these concepts into our Fabric environment.
All right, back in. So up to this point, we've enabled Fabric, we've created a Fabric capacity, and we already know that we have a tenant, right? I can't create a capacity without a tenant. So the tenant and capacities are already defined, right? These are the things that we've discussed in the content. So the tenant we've defined. We defined a capacity. We created that capacity earlier. And then we called it the data detective capacity. So the next level down is a domain, right? So a domain can be, there could be several domains that are contained within a capacity. So how do we create a domain? Well, you got to be a Fabric admin in order to do that. Fortunately, I am. And then we're going to go into our settings pane here, and we're going to go into the admin portal. Now, there's other settings that we'll go through here first, but I want to talk about domains, right? So if I go into domains, I can create a new domain. And I'm just going to call this domain 1, right? And then I'm going to add a admin. And that's going to be me. So I'll administer this domain. So now this domain is created. I could create another domain. So I'll call this domain 2. And if I have other users that are in here, you know, then they could be the admin itself. I do have other users that I created for this purpose, but I'll stick with myself because I only trust myself in these domains right now. So now I have a couple domains. If I go into an actual domain, I can create subdomains because I can associate now workspaces with domains or subdomains and then change the settings on these so I can manage these domains once I'm in there. So this is all handled through the admin portal, right? I can go back into domains and I can manage my domains as I do that. So I can have several domains with a single capacity, right? Or associate this with workspaces that have a capacity assigned to them. Domains, you don't necessarily have to have a capacity in order to have domains, but you're going to have a fabric capacity that is associated with this. So ergo, you'll need a capacity. So next level down are workspaces, right? So workspaces, we've kind of gone over, you know, we had our PBI one, but I'm going to create a new one because although I created that capacity, I don't have any workspaces that are associated with this. So I can't create items until I have a workspace with it. So I'm going to create a new workspace and we'll call this Data Detective Workspace. And then I can also assign this to a domain, which I will assign to domain 1. And you can also see under the Advanced tab is where I can select my license mode. So I got a Pro, I'm in trial right now, which is great, but I do have a fabric capacity, right? So I'm going to select that. You could see that it even resolves, because I could have several capacities, but I only got one right now. So I can resolve this to whatever capacity I need to, and then associate it with different domains. You can see how this goes, right? And subdomains of different domains. And then I can always go back and change these workspace settings if I want to, but I'm going to go ahead and apply this now. So now I have a fabric capacity. You can see that this has a domain. It's part of a domain. It's part of fabric content. So I should be able to create fabric licenses within this. So what are the items that I can create with here? Well, if I go into create, this gives me a lot of what I can do. This is just Power BI. And if I go into create, you could see every time I go into a different experience, then I can create different items. So these are the different items associated with the different experiences. Remember, we talked about fabric experiences. So Power BI is a fabric experience, Data Factory, Data Activator, Data Engineering, Data Science, Data Warehouse, Real-Time Analytics. Some of these are in preview. Some of these are generally available. Refer to documentation on that. But every time I switch to a different experience, it's going to allow me to create different items. And that's everything that I can create within here. Data warehouses just happen to be their own license or own items. So I could create data warehouses in here. I can also change administrative settings within my portal as well. Oh, it's still creating another domain. That's what this notification is giving me. So instead of showing you all of the admin settings, I'll go through some of them. If you are a fabric admin or a tenant admin, then you should be able to go into the tenant settings and be able to navigate through and set some of these for you. But you can see that there's fabric ones, and these are anything that's in a preview feature right now may be generally available at some point, just at the time of this recording there in preview. So keep that in mind, that preview items, if it's in public preview, then they're testing it out, which means that it may not work with every integration that's possible in Azure or Microsoft at this point. So they're slowly putting it out to production level reach, and then they'll make it generally available. Help and support settings. So if you remember up here in the help and support, I can actually change what my users see in there from a tenant level. So I could post different things in there or change some of those settings. I can change the way that domain admins function within this, and workspace settings. There's information protection settings that are within here, exporting, sharing settings. I think we did go over the promoted and certified type of documents. Certified is more of the organizational, or there's usually a designated administrator that certifies certain documents, and that's an explicit person that does that. Endorsement of a promotion is just a thumbs up from a colleague saying that this is a good data set that you can work with. So export and sharing settings, a lot of those enabled in here. Discovery settings, application settings, integration settings. So if we want to use XMLA endpoints, things of that nature, then we can do that as well. There's also some other Power BI visual settings and some other auditing, monitoring, other settings that we can do. You can also see that in my capacity settings that I can view my different licenses or capacities that are available to me within my tenant. So if I have Power BI premium ones, I can view that. I do have an embedded capacity. It's paused right now. So I can pause those as well as Fabric capacities, any trials that I may have, and then any Fabric capacities that I have. And I can manage those from here. So I can see what my utilization is from them and work with them from there. Finally, I got workspace management if I need to, but for the most part, this is about the tenant settings and the ability for users to create Fabric items. And you can enable and disable these. Sometimes when you enable them, you can enable them for specific security groups that you define, or they can be available to the entire organization. All right, for things like that. So the last thing I want to show you in this demo is the ability to use, and I'm going to open this up real quick and move this out of the way, is the ability to use PowerShell commandlets to do certain things. So PowerShell is more of like a management type deal where we can create assets and work with or manage assets that we've already created within our environments, or sometimes we can create those assets or whatever. So if you know how to use PowerShell, then it's great. Now, what we are going to do here is we're going to utilize PowerShell commandlets through Cloud Shell. Why? Because it already has all the PowerShell libraries, the PowerShell or the Power BI PowerShell libraries installed on it. So I should be able to go in here and do some things. I'm going to do a real simple one right now. But what Cloud Shell does is it actually logs into, it automatically authenticates me into Azure, so I can look at all my resources that are in Azure instead of me having to do on my local machine an AZ account connection, which would require me to enter my password and all that information in there. This automatically logs me in. Plus, this environment itself has all the PowerShell libraries installed on it, so I don't have to go install these libraries into my local machine either. So it's a real benefit to utilize this. So what I'm going to do first is, since I'm already logged in, I'm just going to log into my Power BI account. So this is my login to my Power BI service account. Now what it's going to have me do is it's going to have me open up a new window and insert this code, which I'll copy right now, to log this device into here. So now I'm going to paste this code in, and this is essentially authenticating me. I'm going to give it my email. Yep, continue. And now I should be able to utilize PowerShell in here. Boom, boom, boom. All this popped up. So just to show you a simple way of doing this. So if you have the Power BI libraries installed on your local machine, you connect into Azure using the connection string values with PowerShell. Then I can do something like, getting my workspaces. I can add users to workspaces. So here it's telling me all the workspaces that I have in my Power BI environment right now under this tenant, right? So I have the PBI training workspace. I have the embedded test workspace, which I showed you, and then the Fabric capacity one, which is on its own capacity. You can see that. And I even have this one on a dedicated capacity because it was because I have a trial set on it. So all of these do have a dedicated capacity to them. You also notice that My Workspace isn't included in this, and that's because a My Workspace is kind of like your own personal playground. You can't really share assets from out of it. But hopefully you kind of get the feeling for how we can utilize PowerShell commandlets. So instead of opening up a browser, if I'm only on my local machine, I have access to secure Wi-Fi or whatever that looks like, and I need to manage some Power BI assets. then manage Power BI assets or Fabric assets, I can go in and utilize PowerShell commandlets to list things, add things, delete things, update things, do other things with the PowerShell commands instead of actually opening up the portal and going there doing it. So that does it for the administrative part of this. Hope you got a lot out of it. Let's head back to the studio.
That's it, detectives. We introduced you to some of the features and benefits of Fabric, a cloud-based data platform that allows you to access, analyze, and share data across your organization. We unlock clues about Fabric architecture and concepts, and close the case of administrative practices regarding users and data. Thanks for joining.